Try to set some learning goals. So what we'll talk, what is R? I'm sure most of you must be knowing it's not only an alphabet, it's much powerful than that. And why we use R, and how basically to read or write data in R. And we'll get familiar with basic commands, coding, and a lot of things like data visualization, analyzing a data set. Those things we'll do the whole course of this R session. So let's try to understand what is it and why we use it. So to start with, again, it's an open source. You don't have to pay for it. It's a free statistical language. It is a cross-platform. It helps you to enable the same script or same code which you write in it to different platforms. It works on Windows. It works on Mac. It works on Linux platform, Unix platforms. It's very, very flexible because it has its own functions, and it gives you leverage to modify those functions to suit your purpose. It is very powerful as it's open source, and again, there is a big community of people who are helping this statistical language to be better every day. These people are scientists, researchers, and even students like us. It has beautiful graphics. So like you can, your analysis can be put into different graphs, which is easy to read, because we all say a picture is equivalent to 1,000 words. So you can use your analysis work to put into a graph. It helps you in that. It facilitates your research. There are so many libraries that you have to keep track of them. So I would recommend that as you learn about our libraries, try to, whichever you use, try to document that with you, so that when you are exposed to hundreds of libraries, you have a repository with you which can tell you that which library is for what purpose, and you can reuse that. It can be integrated to different platforms like Hadoop or Spark. Basically the platform which helps you to do distributed data processing. So R can use that as a source, data source, and get that data into a session and analyze that and give you the desired output. So let's move ahead. Next one is about installation. So before we want to use any language or tool, we have to install that. If you have not done that yet, I would highly recommend, before going ahead with this course, please do that and make sure you download as per your operating system configuration, like Windows, Mac, or 32-bit, 64-bit, like those things. It has a very simple and standard installation process, so which you can easily do if you follow the instructions well. Before we start, there is a concept of working directory in R. So what this working directory is? It's basically a place or a placeholder where I want to put my work, so that I don't have to look for different libraries for my files or anything I want to analyze. I hope you have your R sessions up and running. So go to some location or folder on your PC, right? Where you just, or if you don't have any location specific for R, just I would recommend on your desktop, create a new folder. I'm sure you would have done that this way. It's a very easy thing. Then you can rename that as R programming, okay? And then once you have done that, so there is a code on the your PPT, which I'm showing side by like on this other side of the screen. You can see there is you have to type set WD. So once you type this, then put the path of the folder which you have just created. Just copy that, go to the properties and copy that path and put in this code, which is set WD, and close it and press enter. I'm sure some of you might have got an error and some of might not. So people who have got error, just check the direction of slashes. So this is a learning one for us, that in R the slash works other side, not the side which is given in the path. So now just change the direction of the slashes and put that same path again into the set WD, and now press enter. Now you would have got to another prompt which asks you that give me another command, and then put get wd, and you will see the working directory listed, the path of the working directory listed on the output and the one row below. So now this working directory concept helps us. If I set my working directory well in advance, I don't have to give path. I just have to give the file name. So you can copy all the files which you want to analyze into the same folder which you just created, and when you want to read, you just have to give the file name. For example, my file name, let's assume, is data.txt. Maybe it's a text file. So I just have to give data.txt. That's it. And similarly in the write option also, if I have analyzed something in R and I want to write that to a place on my PC, I don't have to give a path to it. I'll just give in my name that output.txt and I'll press enter. It will automatically go and save into the working directory. So that's why working directory is a very handy thing for research or when you get into programming with R, because it saves a lot of time of yours. If you are finding it difficult setting it by this small line of code, no problem. And if you forgot, let's assume that there's something called set or get wd, you can do it through a console also. So on the top left corner, you have a file option. Click that file option. You will see fourth option from the bottom which says change directory. So click on that, and once you click on that, you will see it will ask you to browse for folder. So when you browse for folder, it will give you an option to select the folder which you want to set as a working directory. So I assume all of you would have set up your working directory by now. Let's start interacting with R. So you've seen in the console a command prompt basically, which is like a arrow sign. You can see that. This indicates that we must enter our command. So basic rule in R is type a command, hit enter, it will execute for you. So let's practice this, how it works. For example, let's create an X vector. Again, when I say vector, it's not a vector which we normally relates to our high school maths, which has a direction and which has magnitude and all. But I would say this vector is an object in R. I'll explain you in the later part what vector is. But for the time being, let's create a vector X which is 1:100 of length. So you can do that and press enter. What happened? Did anything displayed? No. So what I told you, that if you want to see anything in R, you have to type that and execute it, right? So I think you guys created a vector, but to see that output, you again have to type X and hit enter. Just do that. And once you do that, you will see X being displayed as numbers from 1:100. I hope now at least your hands are moving on R. It's very nice. So you will get more comfortable as we move on. So we have created a vector X. One more thing before we go ahead, I just want to tell you that our console works as a calculator also. So for example, let's assume you type 12 plus 5 in our console and hit enter. It will give you 17. Let's try something complex. 12 plus 5 multiplied by 39 minus 13 divided by 45. And now you hit enter. So what's the output? I'm sure most of you would have got right. It's 9.8, some 9.84 or something like that. But again, make sure you are aware of this lurking square brackets, which I've used in the R, like this, if you can see on the screen. We'll see later in the tutorial that what is the difference between these brackets, square brackets, and normal brackets. It means something else in R, but I'll let you know that in R when we'll get to know R much more than a calculator.